welcome all of you this evening to a very, very good, lovely late spring evening for the first series of Navigating Bamenda. Navigating Bamenda, very interesting topic. Navigating Bamenda, a very interesting theme for several reasons. Why do we need to navigate Bamenda? For over 4 years to 5 years now, defyhatenow works in Cameroon as well on conflict mitigation, transformation, and counter hate speech, using digital media, using continuous trainings, and using building of community resilience. And throughout the process of the conflict in Cameroon, the importance of media has been stressed in several ways. Media has been the subject of propagating violence, spreading information, and also there has been a direct connection shown from the conflict, like from the actions on social media to what activates itself on ground in Cameroon. There are so many examples. Bamenda, because Nduku, who is our guest here, comes from Bamenda. Nduku is a teacher trainer in Bamenda. He's teaching at the government teacher training college in Mbengui, where he's particularly in the Department of Engineering. Really amazing. I'd like to highlight that about him. And through his life, through his experience of what he has encountered being a teacher, because being a teacher in Bamenda has been one of the most difficult jobs. Kidnaps, violence, attack on schools from pressure groups, and which have also been violent. He decided to get involved in the conflict and mitigation process in Bamenda, and that's exactly why he's here. I'm going to not talk much about him because I like when people tell their stories. They bring the angle into the story that you cannot say when you simply read it, and I would love to hand over to him to tell his story. But before then, I would like to say that the importance of the event here is that we continuously try to seek for ways of connecting, of building a bridge between Cameroon diaspora and Cameroon at home, because there has also been a very strong linkage between the conflict and immigration and movement out of Cameroon. The more the conflict has persisted, the more the tendency to move out of home, and therefore the diaspora population is growing. For the first time ever, we hear of Cameroonians being involved in an accident in Antigua, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, countries that we never ever knew existed. So all pushed by the conflict going on. And for those of us who still call Bamenda home, in one way or the other, we are victims of that conflict. You're welcome, Nduku.
Thank you very much.
You want to tell us just a little bit more about yourself? What does it mean for you now to be a Bamendian, because you're still a Bamendian? A title I really miss so much because I love my Bamenda.
Thank you very much for your question. It means a lot to be resident in Bamenda, to be a lover of the city of Bamenda till date, given the circumstances we are experiencing. Bamenda remains home, and it's the only place we must protect. We must work for its development, for its advancement, and to strengthen the resilience of the people such that we can move forward as a people. Bamenda is the third economic power as a city in Cameroon. It's a very beautiful city, having upstation that's a highlands administrative space from top, having the lowlands just below, having a resilient people. It's the citadel of learning in Cameroon. It's the breadbasket of not just the Northwest region, but also the Central African sub-region, because a lot of food consumed within Central Africa comes from Bamenda. And for the years past, education has been having Bamenda as a reference point. So we have the most professional state university, that's the University of Bamenda at the moment. We have famous schools, the St. Bede's, the Sacred Heart, other government bilingual high schools that have produced the most refined minds, Kasbambili, to mention these few. We have good cultural food. We have, the best of what you can expect of anything coming from Cameroon itself. Remember, we refer to Cameroon as Africa's in miniature, a summary of everything found in Africa, and Bamenda is in the heart of this saying. In the meantime, being a teacher in Bamenda has been a difficult one. First, because of security challenges brought about by the armed separatist conflict we are experiencing. Secondly, as a result of the school boycott strategy imposed by armed separatists in our context, limiting the participation of young people in formal learning. Thirdly, as a result of stringent security measures and security crackdown by military people and by armed separatists on daily basis or on a regular basis. Fourthly, as a result of rampant ghost towns, lockdowns, and other consequences of the conflict we are experiencing. A good number of schools have been burnt down. A good number of teachers are victims of kidnapped situations. A good number of schools have been displaced into urban centers. As a result of the crisis, as per 2022, over 855,000 children were deprived access to formal education as a result of the crisis. However, we have this passionate generation of teachers who are still braving the odds, who are passionately doing all to stay safe while putting their work at heart, who are considering digital options to pass on knowledge to the younger generation. And this far, I think we are gaining steam and we are doing all it takes to contribute our quota to formal learning within the city of Bamenda and beyond. Being trained as a peace weaver by the defyhatenow initiative in Cameroon helped me at many ways. The first is some components of the training helped me heal the trauma I was experiencing as a victim of the conflict. Why? Because when you encounter other victims of a conflict in a common space, you start thinking together and you are like, wow, I'm not the only person trapped in this. And that gave me some confidence, some assurance that together we can do something better. The second is we acquired some basic skills as leaders and as peace builders to see how we can contribute our quota in countering all of what I mentioned earlier: disinformation, misinformation, hate speech, rumors, amongst others. And remember that all of these are the main tools that are being used in our context to push for the agenda of the rivaling parties, both from the government's perspective and from the armed separatists. And it also gave us the opportunity to run meetup activities and community engagement activities. And our project scheme, our team, working in a team of 5 peace weavers, we had 5 main activities that we carried out. The first had to do with using sports as a tool to promote peace-building activities in the University of Bamenda. So we observed that as the University of Bamenda sporting students are preparing for the All University Games to take place in Garoua, a lot of hate is being spilled in the course of football, handball, and a good number of our local games, indigenous games like Tabala, like Sizo, amongst others, have perhaps been forgotten, and the values of promoting social cohesion has been transformed into spreading hate. So we considered this avenue, and we had a long session with these sporters within the University of Bamenda, where we impact them with some skills in countering hate in the course of their play, and had a long period of playing with them while offering them gifts and prizes at the end. We also had a session with the fans club of the University of Bamenda as part of our activities, during which we had dance for peace. That is, we equipped them with some basic knowledge on the need to counter hate as they defend their university in the university games. And then we moved over to a community called Tambang near Mile 5 in Kwent Bamenda, where we use storytelling as a tool to contribute to peace building itself and to counter hate. Our stories were traditionally reflecting the Oku fandom of the past, because it was an Oku-based community fora, and from those traditional stories we saw the basic values, storytelling as an African was used to pass on values to the next generation. We had a lot of lessons from the stories, and we ended up with some cultural dances and a common meal as a people. Our third activity had to do with a social media sensitization campaign, where we had daily posters being shared on all our social media handles as peace weavers, as followers of the work we are doing. And then we later had a session on the Cameroon radio television, the CRTV, during which we presented a summary of the work we are doing in the field as peace weavers. Other activities we have involved in as far as countering hate speech is concerned has to do with fact-checking. That's identifying some publications online or on mainstream media that seemingly are not true, and trying to get to the root of it, to the source of it, and making disclaimer if they are not true, or reinforcing truths about stories concerned. And I think all of this is contributing its quota to promote social cohesion, peace, and stability in our region.
You founded an organization. Tell us about that.
I founded an organization called XHUMA Africa. So the word XHUMA comes from the Zulu language, which means to connect. XHUMA Africa means connecting Africa in the context of some issues we are facing. We have issues of peace, issues of violence, we have climate change as an issue, we have civic disengagement of young people as a great issue. And so we are trying to connect the dots between all of these, knowing fully well that climate change leads to limited resources in our context, and most of the armed violence has to do with fight for survival over limited resources. In the meantime, we are observing also that we can hardly champion the cause for peace without reinstating or protecting or conserving our environment, because the cycle of violence will relapse when we have limited resources. So our organization is made up of young people, it's youth-centered, youth-focused, and youth-led. And it's made up of people who have experienced firsthand the damaging consequences of violence on themselves and the environment, and decided to take action to contribute their quota to peace building, like we are talking about, and environmental conservation efforts. So our focus is building a peace education academy in Bamenda, Cameroon, reincarnating African ways of managing conflict. My perception about the diaspora is positive. Truly, the diaspora of Cameroon thinks positive of home. They have a lot of investment back home, and they are struggling at all costs to contribute their quota to civic engagement, to peace building, to the liberation of Cameroonians in general from some form of oppression by the regime in Yaoundé. And all of this has had its positive and negative consequences. The Anglophone crisis, for instance, has the two coincide, where the diaspora was more interested in the younger stars having access to quality education, having access to justice of its own, having the possibility of dreaming big and getting all of this done within their local realities. However, there is another part of the diaspora that also contributed in radicalizing the minds of youngsters back home. The diaspora can support the work of defyhatenow and activities of her beneficiaries on the field in many ways. First, just the moral booster itself is very, very important. Giving someone on the battlefield a tap on the back and saying, we are behind you, we encourage you, we support you, is supporting the work in a great way. Secondly, learning some of the skills we are trying to put into practice on the ground as far as fact-checking disinformation, countering disinformation, misinformation, hate speech itself online is key, because most of those in the diaspora are looked upon as role models. And so if they are putting the right example on board, it has a great multiplier effect and consequence on their followers. You know, each diasporan has a huge family back home, and considering the fact that we are living a communal life in Africa, where we not look at just the nuclear family, but then the extended family has a multiplier effect on our peace building work. As well, diasporans can support our work in many ways, in terms of finances, in terms of material support, in terms of opportunities for those on ground, in terms of even employment opportunities or investment itself, because a hungry man remains an angry man, and if they open up some of these